Welcome to whatever this is. I don't even know what this is. This is just an impromptu discussion and celebration of what could arguably be the two funniest movies ever made, and they were made 50 years ago in the year 1974, released by and written, co-written, directed by Mel Brooks, a guy who really you wish was still out there making movies. And the first one was Blazing Saddles, which I got to bring up. The information here was released February 7th, 1974.
Yes.
And then, astonishingly, like 10 months later, he releases Young Frankenstein.
Although I think we were discussing this off the shows. Like I was saying, I think Young Frankenstein was technically made first, but not released, because it was the whole point of, he needed Gene Wilder like in a pinch.
I think what it was that they were working on the script, and I think Young Frankenstein was Wilder's idea, and he kind of brought it to Mel Brooks because they were friendly, because they'd worked together. They worked on the producers together.
Yes.
And Wilder's career was waning for a long time until strangely enough, everything you always want to know about sex, the Woody Allen movie, because everybody seemed to remember him as the guy who had sex with the sheep. So everybody remembered that.
And remember, if you want to talk about The Little Prince, he was a fox.
He was, but again, these movies didn't really hit until later. He did. Producers was not a hit, although it did earn Mel Brooks.
Willy Wonka was a flop.
Willy Wonka was a flop.
Yeah, Willy Wonka was a huge flop.
And then there was a movie he did called Quacks or Fortune Has a Cousin in the Bronx or something. It's so strange.
He did a TV movie with, I think, Bob Newhart called Thursday's Game.
Okay. And these were not, but it's so funny. I mean, we saw, I had never seen, and I know maybe the both of you will go, what? You call yourself a film guy? But I had never seen Bonnie and Clyde. And
no, neither have I. I'm bad.
I watched it, and I knew.
Guess what? What? I've seen it before you then.
All right.
Yay.
I thought we were going to have a trifecta, but
well,
no.
he's probably you're probably the more attuned film nerd than even we are. I think you have more film knowledge than we do, in a weird way.
Yeah, this is why I need to get on Pop Culture Jeopardy, but I'm struggling to find partners.
Mm-hmm.
I had known of Bonnie and Clyde and seen little bits of it every now and then, little snippets of things. And I knew how important it was to cinema, but when I watched it, Gene Wilder is there, and he creates the character, and it's the thing that you normally associate with Gene Wilder, which was, I guess, the producers. You're thinking about the producers. You're thinking kind of nervous, neurotic lunatic who screams a lot, or is really who gets He's
it's like you said in the producer, like, give him a candy bar. He's like, give me a candy bar, I'll flip out. Don't you remember that? Like,
now you see, there you go. You see, I'm not that much of an acute film nerd because I've not seen The Producers.
It's a great movie.
It offended everybody back then. It'll really offend people now.
Yeah, well, you know what? I need to change that, because my old man, God rest his soul, he loved the musical more than he did the Gene Wilder one.
The musical is funny. The music, the movie musical with Matthew Broderick, it's actually really funny, but they released it weird, and it didn't make money. It was this weird flop that should have made a ton of money, but it's like they released it weird.
See, my mom took him to go see it on Christmas Day. That was his Christmas present. Just like the year prior, I took him to go see The Aviator.
I prefer Zero Mostel and Gene Wilder. To me, they really do it because it's just, the movie is completely supposed to be hysterical and loud, and also it's unconventional, and it does mock certain groups. The musical doesn't mock those groups as much, and by that I mean Nazis. I mean, I guess homosexuals and what
There's
else?
Literally a song called "Keep It Gay" in there.
Yeah. But that's sort of, they're in on the joke.
Yeah, I guess.
It's like Spam-A-Lot. I saw Spam-A-Lot, and there's a song about how you have to have a Jew in it, otherwise it won't be a Broadway musical or something. So, and then it winds up with them dancing, and this enormous Hanukkah menorah comes out of nowhere, and it's lit up.
Well, that just reminds me of History of the World Part 1 with Jews in Space.
Jews in Space.
Oh, God.
Protecting the Hebrew race.
Well, I had a little good interjection moment. Me and Lawler were talking earlier today about, influential films, and we were discussing about, or I was at least saying, how Citizen Kane, while it may not be looked upon in a lot of circles as a great movie, Lawler likes Touch of Evil more. I argue that it is one of the movies that helped shape movies. It's like it helped, get the modern stuff in that we have now. What I'm trying to say is that Blazing Saddles is also one of those movies. It helped refine comedy. It helped refine comedy.
Yeah, and to kind of wrap it up in an imperfect bow here, I was thinking about Bonnie and Clyde because I knew watching Bonnie and Clyde, I saw all the movies that it inspired. When I watched a movie, I saw every movie that it inspired. Like half of your gangster and cross-country killing spree crime movies, they all owe something to that original Bonnie and Clyde movie. So it's like the way comedy owes quite a bit to say, probably Blazing Saddles more than Young Frankenstein. But let's get into Blazing Saddles. That is now Blazing Saddles is what is it's
I think it's a reinvention of the Western, like the final nail in the coffin of Western, because it's interesting you bring this up because I recently, in my purchase of used Laserdiscs, which has now become, the collector's market has messed it up and everything's expensive now. I got lucky with a copy of the restored Laserdisc. This would have been near the end of Laserdisc. The restored Laserdisc of the Wild Bunch in full AC3 Dolby Digital 5.1.
Is that one that's
okay?
Like it's a dark blue and it's got the orange. The title is in orange or red or something.
It might be. I have to go look at it. But basically, that was like the final. We're gonna make a real Western kind of thing, and it's really good. It's a bunch of old farts get together and have like one last battle kind of thing.
It's a great movie. I love it.
It's a great movie. Yeah.
But it wasn't. Westerns were dead.
I can raise
Westerns
you one
at that time.
Okay. I can raise you one, Anderson. I can raise you one.
Mm-hmm.
I've got that widescreen copy of Blazing Saddles on Laserdisc with the commentary.
Well, I have the Snapcase early, like the first release DVD where it's got like the commentary, but it's only like an hour of commentary, and it's basically it's Mel Brooks sort of pontificating for like an hour, so it's probably maybe on one side.
The one I have is part of a box set, the Mel Brooks Blu-ray box set, and it has commentary. It has commentary from him. Yeah, it's only.
He did a new one. I think he did a new one.
It's only it's a picture of him as President Scroop from Spaceballs on top of it, and I think it's Young Frankenstein and it's the 12 Chairs. It's a great movie. 12 Chairs is an underrated.
By the way, hot take: Spaceballs to me does not hold up. It's funny.
Boo this man! Boo!
It's not as funny as as these two. It's like you take these two. Even History of the World Part 1 it's probably just a touch funnier. But like it's funny, but it's not up to Mel Brooks. You can see the decline. Like these are his best. Then you have like High Anxiety. Is like kind of if you love Hitchcock, I
enjoy it. I enjoy it, but you can definitely see where he wanted certain people couldn't get them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Spaceballs okay. I like it. I still like it. It still makes me laugh. There's still
it's funny, but it's like when you compare it to these, it's like
I think maybe the end for me wasn't that. It was Dracula Dead and Loving It, because I did enjoy. I like Robin Hood Men in
Tights. I love Robin Hood Men in Tights. That's the end.
But that still makes me laugh, though. That movie still makes me laugh. But I just think when we got to Leslie Nielsen, it's not funny. We were talking about Leslie Nielsen earlier because we were talking about.
Oh, you know what? He had a bump. Life Stinks. Life Stinks is funny.
Life Stinks. Do I even have? I don't think that's part of the set either. I think the set is only.
Didn't he only star in that though?
No, he wrote it, directed.
No, he did. He wrote and directed.
He did all of it.
Okay. The one that he didn't. He only. The only one that he was involved in that he didn't direct was To Be or Not to Be, the remake, which is a very good remake, by the way. I have to point that out.
Which I only know from the music video.
Yeah. No, it's a great film. It's a great one. That's also on the set. If you guys give me 2 seconds, it's right around the corner here. Go ahead.
And I also know Yaksha Topish, Dr. Topish, Sweet Georgie Brown. That's what I know. That's all I know.
I've only ever seen History of the World once, and I thought it was okay.
It's
I need to watch it. I need to watch it again. I do.
I'm a slightly biased because I had kind of I had dense parents because they would they would take us to go see R-rated movies, and I saw that. I'm like 8 or 9 when I see that.
All right, this is it. This is what I got. It's who manufactured it? But the titles are
Fox.
Is it? Let me see. Can't see.
Fox.
Oh, it's 20th Century Fox and MGM working together. 12 Chairs, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, Silent Movie, another underrated.
Oh, Silent Movie. Oh, I forgot. Silent Movie is great.
High Anxiety, History of the World Part 1, To Be or Not to Be, Spaceballs, and Robin Hood Men in Tights. So it's missing quite a few, but I grabbed it. I forgot if I got this or if it was a present. I forget. And I don't know whether I got it at Amazon or Best Buy, back when Best Buy actually sold physical media. Okay.
Well, no, you were talking about that. You were talking about that Mel Brooks set. Here's my problem with Mel Brooks. We're talking about probably his 2 greatest movies. There's so much shit of his I haven't seen. Like you said, I've not seen the 12 Chairs. I've not seen the original producers. I've not seen To Be or Not to Be, Silent Movie. I've only seen History of the World once. It's like my Mel Brooks movies consist of 4, and that is Blazing Saddles, frickin' Young Frankenstein, Spaceballs, and Robin Hood Men in Tights. I have seen Dracula Dead and loving it. My girlfriend back years and years and years and years and years ago loved that movie. I looked at her and I said, I don't get it. I think it's stupid.
There is a funny gag in there though when Harker, the Steven Weber's character, he puts the stake through the guy's heart, and this blood just gushes out, and it's just the most unrealistic amount of blood until you see Kill Bill, when Lucy Liu chops off that guy's head and the blood comes out like a garden hose, but otherwise. Okay, so getting into Blazing Saddles, the whole thing, okay, this is written by like a whole bunch of writers, and I think originally it was something that Richard Pryor and Andrew Bergman
it was
working on together.
Well, it was, yeah.
Right? And
he was supposed to star. He was supposed to be Black Bart.
That there were a couple of stories circulating about that. One was the story I didn't really believe, which is that Warner Brothers decided he was too racy to be in the. I don't buy that for a second, because racy is good for a movie.
All.
I think that this was Pryor in a very unhealthy period in his life, obviously, because he talks about it later. You know, he talks about freebasing and the cocaine, the snorting cocaine, the freebasing, the drugs, the alcohol. And then he fucking set himself on fire. Remember when he did that?
Well, one of my favorite. As my old man always said, and I quote, "Live and on fire with Richard Pryor."
He did this joke on Richard Pryor Live on the Sunset Strip, where he lights a match and he waves it and he says, "You know what this is? This is Richard Pryor running down the street." It was like the funniest joke. So yeah, it was brought to Mel Brooks because it was based on a treatment. I think that Richard Pryor worked with Andrew Bergman. Andrew Bergman would later on do movies like he did The Freshman. He did this movie called So Fine about assless chaps, I swear to God, with Ryan O'Neal.
The Freshman's good. I like The Freshman.
Oh, he did The In-Laws, and he did Striptease, that movie that Debbie Moore got a shit ton of money to flash her tits.
Yeah.
He's a fine comedic writer and everything. So he works on the script, or he works on the treatment with Pryor. They take it to Fox and Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers buys it. Fox doesn't want to go anywhere near it, and they're working on a deal with Mel Brooks to do Young Frankenstein. And I think this is how it lines up. And then Mel Brooks grabs the treatment and starts working on a script with Norman Steinberg. Norman Steinberg is one of his writer friends, and he's worked with him before. If I remember correctly, Norman Steinberg wrote this wonderful movie, co-wrote it, I think, called My Favorite Year, and it was produced by Mel Brooks.
Heard of it.
It's got Mark Lynn Baker from Perfect Strangers, the TV show. Jessica Harper, Peter O'Toole. It's a fantastic film. I love it. Directed by Richard Benson.
Not to get off tangent, I see that movie at the thrift store like all the fucking time.
It's a great movie.
That's My Favorite Year. Maybe I should pick it up. I don't know. I'll check it out.
You should pick. Peter O'Toole was nominated for Best Actor for an Oscar for that, which is strange because he has that great line where he goes, "I'm not an actor. I'm a movie star." He freaks out. He freaks out when Mark Lynn Baker tells him that they're shooting live. They're shooting the TV show live, and he goes, "Live? You mean this is going to go into people's houses?"
Okay, what did I miss? What did I miss?
No, and then he said, I did one live performance. I played a butler. I had one line. I forgot it. It was just a wonderful film. Anyway, yeah, you should watch that. This is Warner Brothers in 1974. They're looking to rock the boat. They were very, Warner Brothers was very, I guess you want to say progressive is the word. They were really.
Does it have anything to do with his live in concert when he talks about the monkey going up to the guy at Warner Brothers, going up and humping his ear? You won't be making any more movies. He's like, you won't be making any movies at Warner Brothers. That's for goddamn sure.
Well, you won't be want to get this monkey's dick out of my
yeah, exactly.
You're rich.
It's interesting you bring up like movies that don't make money. So you take like a movie because Mel Brooks, he produced a lot of movies with Brooks Films. He made this movie called Solar Babies.
I remember that.
Oh God!
And it was a huge flop, and it cost a good amount of money. And he, because I heard some sort of interview with him, and it like just recently, like within the last 10 years, it started actually like not losing money and broke even and maybe a small profit. Like it took 30 years for this movie, and he had to like mortgage his house.
But dude, he did The Fly.
He did the
same year.
Elephant Man.
He's kind of responsible, actually. He's kind of responsible in part for the careers of David Lynch and David Cronenberg, at least mainstream success in the. It's great. I mean, like it's fantastic because he didn't want to be. He didn't want his name associated with the movies because people would think it was a ridiculous comedy.
Well, you know what? In the case, well, hold on, I don't want to get too far off, but in the case of Cronenberg, I'm gonna step it back just a little. I think it was more or less Dino De Laurentiis who helped Cronenberg become mainstream due to the Dead Zone, because that was like Cronenberg's.
That was before.
Yeah, but the Dead Zone wasn't as big of a success as The Fly, though.
But it was. I understand success.
De Laurentiis didn't have money to throw around, so he tried word of mouth more than anything.
But the point is, the Dead Zone did well. The Dead Zone did make business. It's considered, a high point of all the Stephen King movies. It's considered one of Chris Walken's best movies.
Well, yeah. Also, it's like that's a movie where it's like it does decent in the theater, turns a small profit, and then like home video and cable and everything. That's when people really see it and they're like, "Oh, this is a good movie."
With Blazing Saddles, they didn't have Richard Pryor, so they cast Cleavon Little in his stead, and then also.
Wasn't that a suggestion of Rich Pryor's? Like, I know you can't get me, get this guy. I like this guy.
Yeah, I would say that probably Pryor did have a lot of input on the casting of the character, but also Brooks wanted Gig Young to play the part that eventually went to Gene Wilder, the Waco Kid. But Gig Young was a big drunk and he was completely unreliable or something. So
it's like the story is like the day they started was like the first day was him hanging off the thing.
He had to do it upside down,
He did it upside down, and he had like the DTs. He was still like he's like, I'm not gonna drink. It's like, you promise not to drink. I promise not to drink. But he got all sick because if you need a detox, and they're like, he's gonna need a few months to detox, and it's like, we don't have time. So then he makes the emergency call to Gene Wilder.
He drank. I think he was like married a bunch of times and had a lot of terrible relationships with people. He was like previously an incredibly well-respected actor. He appeared in a bunch of stuff in TV and the movies back in the day. He was in a Twilight Zone episode, I remember. And also The Outer Limits, and also Alfred Hitchcock, and I guess by this point he was like really not in the best health. So, Mel Brooks is working on the Young Frankenstein script with Gene Wilder, and he says, come in, I don't know, what is it, like a week? It's 2 weeks of shooting or something. Help me out. So Gene Wilder did, and made history with the Waco Kid. One of the great lines, by the way. I mean, like well, let's get into the story, right? Hedley Lamar, which is Harvey Korman.
Hedley.
I'm thinking about it.
Hedley Lamar. Oh, what are you worried about? This is 1886. You can sue her.
Oh, and okay. What they want to do.
And she actually did fucking sue, which is what's terrible about it. She actually sued.
Now it's his plan to build. It's his plan to build a railroad through this town, Rock Ridge, destroy it basically. And
because
he has to get the governor on his side, William J. Lebanamain, which is Mel Brooks again. Mel Brooks, hump. We've got to protect our phony baloney jobs.
I don't know if you know this.
Watch your ass.
Do you know Lebanamain is actually like a very world famous French farter?
I don't really.
I'm not kidding. There was a guy. This was because you've seen guys now. They're like professional farters and they know how to suck air into their ass and they can do a whole thing.
Oh,
well,
geez.
this was the first. This guy pioneered fart technology.
Well,
he's called Lepetomaine. Everybody was losing their shit. He was the most popular.
He was famous for his remarkable control of abdominal muscles, which enabled him to seemingly fart at will.
See, there you go.
His stage name combines the French verb Peter, to fart, or péter, I think it is, with the main maniac. So fart maniac, fart-o-maniac.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be kidding me. And then Mel Brooks, he's like, I need a name for the governor. I know.
I mean, he must have known.
And then I said Lepetomaine, and it got really quiet, and everybody looked at me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So they decide that they want to. What do they want to do? They just want to. They want to piss off the town by bringing a black sheriff in.
Mm-hmm.
And the town is racist.
Oh God.
And that's just how it is.
The shit we can't talk about on a podcast. God, if we were to pick our favorite one-liners, God, this video would get taken down.
There's a lot of
nobody cares.
There's a lot of great stuff. No, but the thing about it is, I see a lot of stuff. I see a lot of stuff online where they talk about, could you make Blazing Saddles today? Yeah, you could make the movie today, but it wouldn't be as funny. Number one, because there's a problem with humor. And it wouldn't be as controversial, I suppose, because they would have to.
If it was a Wayans Brothers thing, I think they could get away with it.
Thank you, Anderson. Thank you. I was just gonna say that. You read my fucking mind. Dude.
If it's because again, you have like this old Jewish man, middle-aged Jewish man at the time, making comedy with this kind of stuff. And I think that Mel Brooks today would be like, you know what? I would need to give this to the Wayans Brothers.
So you're actually acknowledging.
But then again. There was one Western that pulled it off. I mean, A Million Ways to Die in the West.
Yeah, but there was very little.
That wasn't that funny. That was.
But then there was. But dude, it wasn't as racist, but it had some racial jokes to it.
Oh yeah,
it was about what they could get away with. You know, they could get away with so much.
It had, but I felt that movie had more of a heart in that direction because I felt like McFarlane was winking at the audience when he was saying. I think a lot of the jokes were winks, whereas with Mel Brooks, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of violence in there because it is the 70s, and the 70s was just real, regardless of whether or not you had a comedy or drama or anything. It was a little more in your face.
I mean, when he plays a Native American and he starts speaking, get it,
a Jewish Native American.
It's all right.
A big as in, take off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Torn from the fiery pages of the mightiest annals of the West comes the supreme saga in the great tradition of frontier drama.
Schwarzes.
I feel like I just realized like this is the movie America needed. Because like there was a lot of racial tension at the time. It's like this. Everybody loved this movie. This movie was a massive hit.
It. Hell yeah.
I mean, in adjusted dollars,
I want to point out
dollars. It's like $500 million in today's money.
Yeah, I want to point out
don't make that much money.
The budget for this movie was $2.6 million, and it ultimately made $120 million at the box office. Enormous profit. Enormous profit. Young Frankenstein. Not quite as successful, but very successful. $2.78 million budget, made $86 million.
Yeah, that's still a lot of money.
He made over $200 million in 1974, 2 movies.
And then what was his next movie? Silent Movie, which I don't think made any money.
Silent Movie was not as huge. Silent Movie though is a funny movie.
It is.
Even you think, what is he out of his mind? What is he doing? He's making a movie with no dialogue in it. The only dialogue, there's one bit of dialogue uttered by Marcel.
Genius. That's genius.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, if only for the Burt Reynolds cameo in the shower. I mean, come on.
One of my favorites was the running gag. Oh my God, the running gag of the 3 women, and they see them always in these weird compromising positions, and one says to the other, "Fags." And I love when he does that. He doesn't really do. There isn't. Okay, all right. The most obvious joke in Blazing Saddles is Dom DeLuise's director. Throw out your hands, stick out your tush, hands on your hips, give them a push. You'll be surprised you're doing the French mistake. Voila! Wrong!
And then he's like,
watch me, faggots.
Watch me, faggots.
That's the only real gay joke in Blazing Saddles, and I don't think.
Excuse me. What in the wide world of sports,
sports
is going on here? Y'all are jumping around like a bunch
of Kansas City faggots. You know, it's funny. My father-in-law, he always makes that joke. He says, "Why are you jumping around like a Kansas City faggot?" And I've heard him say it more than once. And he has kind of like a deep authoritarian voice. So he's like, "Why are you jumping around like a Kansas City faggot?"
My ex-girlfriend's dad, even though I was Anderson, you were out of the room. We were talking about Dracula Dead and loving it, how I was not a fan. Mm-hmm. I will say this. He was the one who showed me Blazing Saddles. Mm-hmm. And he would always say the wide world of sports line to me.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
He made me a fan of that movie, and it's become my second favorite comedy of all time.
Okay, and I had a thought about Blazing Saddles in that part of the reason that this humor, this is writer's room humor, which is to say you get a bunch of writers together and they try to make each other laugh, and it's like the general public either gets it or they don't, and they've done this on Saturday Night Live where they'll have a skit where it's like it kills in the writer's room and then it gets like zero reaction from people.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while something hits and you don't realize oh, they actually think this is funny. We didn't understand. And I think that's like this humor is like, this is funny people trying to make other funny people, like jaded funny people laugh. And I think
you know what's interesting? I learned this in high school. I think we read about it. There was one controversy associated. Well, two controversies. One was Alex Karras's character Mongo. Mm-hmm. Apparently, Mongoloid or mongrel people were offended by his depiction, and Mel Brooks had to write a public apology to them.
According to
even though it was Richard Pryor's character, Richard Pryor
exactly like according to the short commentary, he says like Richard Pryor wrote most of the Mongo bits, which makes sense because he loves making fun of white people. Who doesn't?
But Mel was required to apologize. And Richard Pryor wrote the line, which is a really funny one, where he, Alex Karras looks at the camera and says,
"Mongo straight."
No, Mongo straight. Oh, Mongo straight. No, he looks at the camera and says, "Mongo only pawn in Game of Life," and that was a Richard Pryor line, and it was a wonderful line too. Candygram for Mongo. I just, God, there's so many things.
Oh, it's like I invented the damn Candygram. They're probably going to take that away from me.
Okay, so Gene Wilder is introduced, and like he's drunk, he gets he's hungover. I mean, he's actually Gig Young would have been perfect for that one scene, but there's a great line where he says, "So what do you do?" And he's like, "I don't know, play chess, screw." And he says, "Well, let's play chess."
That's the beginning of like the TV, because my introduction to this film was, and it took forever for it to get on network TV, and I'm guessing why, and it didn't hit network TV until 1981.
Wow.
Oh, that's God.
I know. And that was the first time I saw it. And I saw it in its edited version. So it's like, what did he say? What and screw? What did he say?
Play chess.
Did he say play chess? Saloon. That was the beginning.
And it doesn't make sense for Cleavon Little to be giving him that look.
They left all the N-word in. They didn't care. This was 81 before.
Yeah. I was going to say, you said 81, right? And that 81. That was the only other movie that took that long to get to network television was The Exorcist. That movie came out in 71 and it wasn't released. It wasn't put
73,
73, and it didn't wind up on CBS until 81 or 82.
Whoa.
So very, very long time. But that's The Exorcist. And that they have to figure out, okay, people are going to want to see this movie. It's going to get huge ratings. And this is before cable really exploded. Mm-hmm. So you had these events. You had Jaws when Jaws came out, Star Wars, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Jaws didn't take that long. I think Jaws was it got there in 79 or something. And
I guess it made its money very quickly or something. Also kind of inoffensive, except for the whole shark eating people thing. Mm-hmm. There is,
One of the things I remember about Jaws, I just want to get a little there. Back in the 20th anniversary, TNT actually aired it uncut. Yeah, they did. TNT aired it completely 100% uncut. We were
like an important movie
that night, and I made sure we got home right at the 0 fucking minute. Like for me to switch over the cable box, get the VCR queued up, get a blank in there, and fucking record that motherfucker just to get it uncut.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, yeah, it was full screen, but who cared? It was an uncut movie. You know, you didn't get that very often on network TV, and we only had HBO. So, and I don't want to sound bougie, but HBO didn't play a lot back in the 90s, I should say. They played some Universal movies, but you weren't going to see Jaws.
It's interesting you bring that up. It's interesting you bring this up because I think I saw Jaws 2 first on on a repeat on ABC in like 86. I didn't see the original Jaws until 87, and that was actually on HBO. I'm just saying.
I first saw Jaws at the drive-in.
Licenses ran different, man. Licenses ran different back then.
Mm-hmm. Well, I first saw Jaws at a drive-in theater, and I remember distinctly one of the few drive-in memories I had when I was very young, when I was practically a baby. My mother taking me to see. Also Jaws 2, I think, but there were a lot of drive-ins back then when I was a kid. So I got to see a couple of things in the drive-in. I do want to say, okay, there was one other controversy. The second controversy involved the original poster design for Blazing Saddles had the coin. We all recognize it today as "Hi, I'm Mel, trust me," but it contained some different writing. It said, "In Mel we trust."
That's what I remember. The "In Mel
religious
we trust."
Groups got offended by that, and he had to, of course, apologize again because nobody could take. Even in '74, people were very dicey about it.
When did they change it? Because that's stuck in my mind. I feel like I saw that. I must have seen that way later.
It was like it was only in a few advanced posters.
Mm-hmm.
If you can find, oh my God, I'd love to find the poster because that poster is probably very rare.
Wait, isn't it on like the VHS?
On the VHS it says, "Hi, I'm Mel, trust me." It just says that.
It doesn't even. It's him as the Indian on the coin, right?
Yeah.
I could swear, like, if maybe go back. Are we talking like the old clamshell one? Check the old clamshell. I feel like I saw that.
In Mel We Trust it was just for a preliminary advanced screenings.
Yeah.
People got upset.
Saw it somewhere.
It was immediately pulled because Warner's had a lot.
By the
gambling.
way, just so we don't get accused of being insensitive, it's not Indian; it's indigenous person.
I thought it was Native American.
Native American or indigenous person. You could go either way on that.
I could swear Indians are now like call us Indians.
I call them guardians. No, I call them the hey yo where you going. I got to point out that these indigenous people, as we call them now, they don't really like when we change shit. When we make the Washington Redskins the Washington, what are they called? Commanders. Yeah, because they were actually honoring a particular Redskin tribe or something like that. They didn't like when they changed the Cleveland Indians to the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah, and I'm surprised.
They don't like this stuff. This is all white guilt.
Hold on. I'm surprised they haven't changed the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, what about the Atlanta Braves?
And on top of that, it's called Arrowhead Stadium.
Oh, shit. God, we're screwed.
Okay.
We're going to white man's hell.
Yeah, you've got a team called the Chiefs in a stadium called Arrowhead Stadium, but yet they don't have to change that shit. Yeah. The Cleveland Indians are now the Cleveland Guardians. I'm shocked the Braves are still the fucking Braves.
I know.
Now look, as long as you acknowledge your white privilege, your conscience is clear. You can use it, you can not use it. As long as you acknowledge you have it, that's all that matters, as far as I'm concerned.
But you also got, you guys got to remember, I'm from Chicago. I got a college team. I got the Illini.
Illini?
The Fighting Illini.
It sounds like a tribe.
It's an Indian
tribe. That's the Illini tribe. And then Illinois' football team, the Fighting Illini, that play in the NCAA.
The Illini were celebrated as being the first indigenous tribe that castrated its enemies and wore their balls around their necks.
I like
necklaces.
The sound of that.
Actually, I'm sorry, I made that completely up. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Right. Well, I'll start
I bet you did.
They were the first Indian tribe to actually come up with the best recipe for clam chowder. All right, this is what's next, and it was impressive too because they're in Illinois. Getting back to Blazing something or others, he rode a blazing saddle. Da, 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 da. I forget the name of it. You know, when Cleavon Little shows up in the town, immediately goes into the spiel. And he's all like, you know, he puts a gun to his head. Oh. One of the great things, one of my favorite jokes is when these two cowboys are beating up an old woman, and then they stop. She looks at the camera and says,
"Have you ever seen such cruelty?"
And then they get right back to it again. I love that because it's just everything about this movie is ridiculous, but it's also there's an undercurrent of truth in there, and I think the truth is what.
Excuse me a sec while I whip this out. I think he's saying
like,
the sheriff is near.
Oh, sheriff is
oh,
near.
The sheriff is a near.
Bong!
That was
It's like it's a
display of frontier gibberish we've ever heard.
It's a very delicate balance of like they're kind of making fun of racism by being racist, and it's a very delicate balance when you do that.
Well, it's like Lawler says the movie is racist against white people. That's why it's passable.
It works on that level because, and also it doesn't really insult and it doesn't condescend either. That's another important thing. It doesn't condescend. It doesn't patronize any particular group either.
I'm remembering what Mel Brooks said about the movie. He said like because they did like a screening, but I think they did like a Warner Brothers friends and family screening to like because the studio was worried, and like they did, and he said like from the moment the Warner Brothers logo came up, they were laughing, like because I think it like burns through like Bonanza.
So, this is the only Mel Brooks movie that he made that has an R rating. I don't even think. Well, no, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. History of the World Part 1 also got an R rating.
History of the World.
But the thing is, I don't think that they say the F word at all in this movie. They say the F word in History of the World, and by F I mean fuck. Nobody says.
I don't remember the F word being dropped in that movie.
They say everything else. They say everything else, but they don't say that. I mean, I'm looking at Headley's dialogue here. Rustlers, cutthroats, murderers, bounty hunters, desperados, mugs, pugs, thugs, nitwits, halfwits, dimwits, vipers, snipers, conmen, Indian agents, Mexican bandits, muggers, buggerers, bushwhackers, hornswogglers, horse thieves, bull dykes, train robbers, bank robbers, ass kickers, shit kickers, and Methodists. Oh my God. I totally forgot about that. What the fuck? What, bull dykes? Methodists? What are they doing in there? I mean, that's as far as you go with the language, other than the N-word. Yes, the liberal use of the N-word throughout the whole thing. And they make fun, and there's a great line, where the old woman says something terrible to Cleavon, and Gene Wilder's trying to cheer him up, and he says, "You have to remember, these are sons of the soil, children of the common clay, morons." And it makes Cleavon Little laugh. It's a wonderful, genuine moment. I like it. I mean, I think that's the whole point of it. Maybe that's the comment that is being made, is that these people are just plain fucking stupid, and that's really all that just comes down.
And nothing has changed in America.
We need to, this movie must continue to remain. Do you think it really does it need a trigger warning? Is it going to need a trigger warning?
I think it does. I think it does now. Cause they're like, I think they actually have it introduced by a black dude now. And he's like he explains like,
okay, number one, I'm the biggest bougie fuck in this. Well, I stand corrected. Anderson's the 4K bougie person, Mr.
Yes.
OLED.
Yes.
I got
your TV. Your TV is awesome. Yeah. I'm not gonna.
I got the QLED. I'm happy with it. But what I'm getting at is I have not gotten that 4K yet, and I probably won't because they stripped out a lot of bonus material that's even better on the older deluxe edition Blu-ray. But that being said, I haven't seen any introduction that has to discourage against a trigger warning.
I think when they put it on when they put it on streaming, when they put it on like TNT. I think there's also one that goes along with Gone with the Wind.
How can you say that, though? How can you say that Blazing Saddles, this is a warning that this is a movie that contains certain cultural stereotypes? It's a comedy. Of course it has cultural stereotypes.
Well, okay, Froelich, you got lots of kids of varying ages. Have you introduced any of them to this?
No, you want to talk about cultural stereotypes that have introduced them to? They've seen every Tom and Jerry fucking cartoon. Okay?
Oh, those are...
You want to talk?
Are you talking about the maid that goes Thomas and then grabs a broom and beats the shit out of him?
Now, do you give them a little historical context on it? Do you say like
I tell them
hot music?